Ramble.
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to You Can Sit With Us. Today is a very special episode because it is just me and my bestie, Rachel, chatting about our kids.
We're talking babies. When everyone else leaves the room, we just talk about our babies.
Yes. And we try not to talk about our babies when they are in the room, but sometimes it happens anyway.
It does.
Anywho, the other You Can Sit With Users are out today.
Yep. Two of them are in Vietnam.
Yep. Becky and Matt are in Vietnam.
I really hope you're buying us prezzies.
They look like they're having the best time. They also look so warm.
And they look sweaty.
Really sweaty.
Yeah.
Like
they
Becky,
look tan
every photo
and summery
I see,
and a little sweaty.
Every photo I see is Becky with her little hand fan. Oh, I love it.
It's
I love
hot.
it. Woo-wee. And then Maggie is in New York for the time being with Zachary. Yeah. So it's
when left to our own devices, it's all children all the time.
Well, we get a lot of questions about our kids.
That's
we get
true.
a lot of questions about kids in general. That people they're like, do I want kids? I'm starting to think about having kids. I feel like our listenership kind of ranges from the youngest being,
a child
A
themselves.
child, and the oldest being probably our moms.
Yeah.
So it kind of is all over the place. And we don't talk about kids very much, but we're going to talk about them today.
Yeah. I also sound like I pound whiskey every night. That is just a preschool plague that I'm getting over.
Wait, you don't pound whiskey every night?
Sometimes I don't suggest that as a good coping mechanism for parenthood. But no, the first year of preschool, brutal on the immune system of the whole family.
I feel like that's just the first year out of COVID is
that too.
It's just been rough on everybody. Yeah. So it's just sickness after sickness after sickness.
I know.
Poor Finn is the same way. He catches everything because he puts his mouth on everything.
Yeah, well, that's true. Guys, I saw Finn the other day for the first time in like a couple months. He was like walking. He was like eating foods. I was like, who is this child?
It's been a while, right?
I said we were going to talk about babies, but really, we don't have babies. We have toddlers.
We have children.
Yeah. We have preschoolers.
Finn can almost talk. He can fully communicate with our nanny.
Okay, when Finn says Ray Ray, my heart will burst and be full finally.
You just wait.
I can't wait.
You just wait. Yeah, he says, so our nanny's dog's name is Jackson. And he says, Jackson. Yeah. I know. That's the first name he's called though. It's not even our nanny's name. It's Jackson.
Listen, dogs are more important than people. We know this.
I know. I hear that.
Should we get into it? We have questions.
Yeah. So we have some questions to guide our conversation. Just because Rachel and I could go off about kids.
Yeah.
To give a little background, Rach, you have 2 kids.
I have twin 3-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And you also have 2 kids
I also have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 20-month-old, both boys.
Yeah, we're very gender divided across the room. You have boys, I have girls.
Divided.
But we'll see what they are when they grow up.
Yeah,
That's how they were born.
Can you see your kids already starting to show signs of being artistic or extroverted?
I mean, definitely. I think having them side by side at an identical age, it's very easy to see all the ways in which they're very different from one another, which I think from a young age has really elucidated for me how they are their own beings. Yeah. Whereas if you just had one kid with no one to compare them to, you might, I don't know. It's so funny because all the ways in which Poppy is extremely social, June is not.
Right.
And all the ways in which June is highly verbal and very has lots of ideas. Poppy's just going with the flow. So the play off of each other, they're very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what about you? Certainly Wes. Wes is 4.
Oh, Wes is 4. Oh my goodness. He's interested in everything. Truly, he likes to get his hands on things. He just wants to move his body, and he loves big body movements. He loves, like his gymnastics classes and things like that. And I find, when you see him next to other kids that are like his age, he is, I would never have guessed this because he's so active and so just like fidgety at home that he is the one who sits still and listens. Oh, it's remarkable. I know. I'm like, goodness, like, like he just loves learning. And I can totally see him being like a STEM kid because so we got a book of experiments recently, and now he's just like, let's do experiments. Like he wants to, he wants to like make a volcano. And I know he's totally a tiny Ned. And Finn is so different. Finn loves to sit and look at books by himself. That's like his happy place. Sometimes when Wes gets to be too much for him, because Wes will be like up in his face and be like, Finn, you want to do this? Finn, you want to hug? Finn, you want to play with this? Which is very sweet. And it was certainly different, 6 months ago when Wes couldn't stand Finn. But now when Finn gets to be when Wes gets to be too much, Finn will say, no. And then he'll walk away and like go somewhere quiet and pull out a book or pull out like a toy that he can do himself. And then he'll sort of like just do his own thing until he's done. And then he'll come back and be hilarious. He has the most hilarious, he likes to dance. Finn loves to dance. He'll come over and he'll just like actually twerk and shake his booty because he knows what makes me laugh. It's just so funny. It's so funny.
So sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. But Finn is very much like music, reading. Wes is like sword fights. and you're like, I'm pretending to fly. And, oh my goodness.
I'm pretending to fly.
A
lot of bad guys with Wes's imaginary play.
A lot of bad guys.
There's a lot of bad guys.
A lot of bad guys.
All right. I'm going to hop in on the questions. We're starting with pregnancy.
Ooh, okay.
Did you always know from when you were like a teen onward that you wanted to be a mom?
Yes, I think I did. I never, how do I explain it? Like I didn't ever commit when I was young to being like, I absolutely want to be a mother. Like my life will not be complete if I am not a mother. But I think I always knew that it was something that would be fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I always wanted to be a mom.
Oh, yeah.
I was a nanny. I was a kindergarten teacher. I always wanted to be a mom. And then we really struggled to get pregnant. And that like really solidified like this like intense desire. Cause then I had to like grapple with how much I wanted it. Right?
Yeah. Money.
So much money. So much effort. I'm going to say something real hot take, real controversial.
Okay, let's hear it.
Now that I am a mom, the world could not exist for me without Poppy and June existing in it. Like that is so clear. And I, in fact, have a hard time remembering that they didn't exist when I like look back on my life because they are so fully a part of the scope of the world now. But now that I am a mom, I can more clearly see a future where I wasn't one.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm in it and doing it, I'm like, oh, the choice not to have kids is also a really cool choice.
Right, exactly.
I didn't think that before. Not for other people. Obviously, everyone should do what they want. But for me, I thought, oh, that's exactly what I want. And now that I'm experiencing exactly how hard it is sometimes, I'm like, oh, if I could go back with this knowledge, that's not what I would choose because I need June and Poppy to exist.
Right.
But I could see myself being happy with no kids.
Right. Like you could certainly weigh the choices a little bit more.
I could with this knowledge. I could never have done that before they were born.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not the choice I would make, but I see the no kids argument so much more clearly for myself than I could have before.
I remember so I was having a conversation with my mom one time and I asked her, like, why did you wait so long to have kids? Because she didn't have me till she was 27, which
27?
I know, which is ridiculous. It's like, it's so early.
She was a baby.
I know.
What are you talking about, Ariel?
I know. It's so ridiculous.
She had kids like 10 years before us.
Right. Exactly. But
Okay.
like at the time, she had a bunch of friends that were having kids. And so, yeah. And so I was kind of like, well, why did you wait so long? And she like, no hesitation said, well, we didn't know we wanted kids. Like, we didn't think we wanted kids. Your dad and I were very focused on our careers. We, we considered not having children for a while. And I was wildly hurt by that. I was like,
you were?
You considered not having kids? Like, why? I haven't actually gotten into the feelings of that, but thinking about it now, I probably felt like, well, do you feel like your life would be complete without me? In it?
But see, the no kids route isn't saying I'm not choosing to have you.
Exactly.
It's that I'm not choosing to engage with that,
Exactly.
But your specificity doesn't exist in that world.
Right.
Of course she would choose you.
Of course.
That's why having the knowledge I have now, although I can see the path, I can't choose it. Yeah. Now I have the specificity of June and Poppy. I could never let that go. But I understand how hard it is in a different way now that I was too blinded by my desire to have babies before.
Yeah.
I know. I really wanted babies. How did you decide when to have kids? You thought 27 was old?
Ariel. Okay, when I was like 14, I thought 27 was old.
Okay, when I was 14, I had mapped out a plan of my life where I was like, married at 22, kids by 24, Nobel Peace Prize by 28, Broadway star by 30, and then I died. I had a total plan that was ridiculously early and dumb.
Did you say a Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah. And you're a Broadway star?
And a Tony. I had big dreams.
Wow. I love that.
14-year-olds are dumb.
Yeah.
Short-sighted.
Short-sighted.
I'm sure there are lots of 14-year-olds listening. You're not dumb. Listen, I just had big dreams, guys.
I don't think that's dumb. I think that's actually fantastic. You need to look back on those like diaries and stuff and just be like, where did this energy come from? The energy.
And where did it go?
Well,
I lost it.
I think we all know where it went. I think we all know where it goes. Yes, exactly. When did, let's see. So Ned and I got married pretty early.
Yeah, you did.
You
did my plan for marriage.
Well, sort of. I mean, I wasn't 22. I was 25.
That's still quite young.
I was 25.
You and Pixie Podcast Miles both.
That's right. Ow. But Ned was 23.
Yeah, well, Ned's a baby.
I know. And we wanted to live a life together before we had kids. So we waited. We waited until I was 32.
And so when did you decide, did you have a conversation? Was it because of your age? Did you just feel ready? What was the impending, what variable changed?
It didn't have anything to do with our age. Or maybe it did, but that wasn't the leading factor. It was more of we've just felt like we were ready and that we were sort of settling down. We were trying to buy a house. We had stable jobs. We were.
You had stable jobs at the beginning of the pregnancy.
We had stable jobs when we got pregnant. When I had my child, we had no health care.
Oh, yes, we all recall. If you don't recall, watch the Try Guys documentary. It's out now on our channel.
So, yeah, there was no stability when we actually had Wes. But at the time, we were like, I think our relationship is ready for this. I think that was really the important thing, was that the two of us together, we were like, we can face this together now. We've lived enough life. And there's other factors. There's factors of can we afford it? Do we have a place for the baby to sleep? That sort of thing.
You didn't, but go ahead.
At the time we did not, but we figured it out.
But when you got pregnant, you did.
Yes, exactly.
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. I don't know about you guys, but when I get into a super busy streak, I sometimes go into autopilot and I forget to check in with myself and make sure that I'm taking care of my mental health. How we care for our mind affects how we experience life, so it's important to invest time into keeping them healthy. There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language, Sudoku, crossword puzzles, making sure we're getting enough sleep. But there's also BetterHelp Online Therapy. I love BetterHelp Online Therapy. I've used it. I love being able to have access to my therapist on my phone, and I think that everyone should have access to a therapist. BetterHelp Online Therapy offers video, phone, and even live chat-only therapy sessions, so you don't have to see anyone on the camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/sitwithus. That's betterhelp.com/sitwithus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when you decide. I usually know most of your stories, but I do not know the answer to this question.
Well, we were real eager. I was real eager to have babies. Like I said, very baby focused. You know, Watson and I dated for only 2 years before we got married at the courthouse. And then just a couple months later had our actual wedding. And by the time we had our actual wedding, we were already trying to have kids.
Wow.
I was trying to get pregnant. I didn't care if I was pregnant at my wedding or not.
Yeah.
And so less than 3 years of being together and we were going for it. Now, I was already 32. Mm-hmm. And so then we were trying for a long time, over a year. But I think we started trying basically as soon as we got married at the courthouse, because then I was on his health insurance. I didn't have health insurance before. And that was like one of our main concerns. But we were kind of ready to try from the moment we were officially dating, basically.
Really?
We were just, one of our first dates was house shopping for him, not for us, but we were going to open houses.
That's hilarious.
We were just like in our 30s. I had dated someone really long term out of college. I had a 10-year relationship. Then I had a few years of being single, and we had been friends for a year. So by the time we were actually dating, it was just kind of no holds bar. I think
we know what we want.
Yeah. I think he said, "I love you" before we even told our friends we were dating. What? It was kind of fast.
Yeah. But he loved you.
He loved me really quickly.
Wait, so okay, you guys met. Let's just go a little bit into how you met, Watts. You guys met on set.
We met on set of a pilot for a Zach Galifianakis show called Baskets.
Okay,
and we had a mutual group of friends. One of his best friends was also one of my best friends, who I had worked on a different pilot with.
So you guys were doing group things together, and
we were all friends, but he was dating someone, but they were doomed from the start without me, we were just friends for almost a full year. And then after they broke up, a couple months after that,
you were like, oh, well,
I was like, huh,
I do. It's interesting. When somebody's off the table, then you don't even think about it. And then when somebody's on the table, you're like, oh, actually,
right. I mean, and then we went, out to grab drinks just as friends, and we shut the bar down, and I from sitting and chatting just as friends. Wow. And I was like, okay,
when was
it's 1 a.m. Gotta go.
When was the first time you talked about kids with him?
Lord, if I know, probably way too soon.
That date,
the
first date.
No. But as soon as we were properly dating and all of our friends knew and all of that, I think we would sit together at dinners and we would be like, so if you were ever to get engaged, what would you want that to look like? Or we would talk about it in theory. And if you were ever to have a child, what would you want that to look like? And when we talked about kids, we always said this thing that I think cursed us. No, blessed us.
What?
We always said, well, we'll start with 1 and then we'll see.
Oh.
And then we started with 2.
And now you're seeing?
And now we're seeing. Now we're seeing, and now we have 2. Side note, most common question I get on Instagram DMs, which I'm sure you do too, which I know Becky does too, and I bet Maggie, if she checks, and not Matt, is, are you having another baby? And people will even go so far as to comment on my photos and to be like, Rachel, is that a bump I see? And I'm like, if I'm not telling you it's a bump, it's not a bump.
Yeah.
That's just my belly.
No, that's just what my body looks like.
That's just my belly.
And I'm like self-conscious enough about it.
Yeah. So
don't
thank
talk
you
about it. But
thank you.
I fully appreciate, like, as somebody who has been on Bump Watch, I fully appreciate like the excitement of when there is a bump. And because you just want to get so excited for that person with that person.
But you don't ask until they tell you.
I know. But it's, for a lot of people who haven't, experienced that, had somebody comment on their body in a way that is so invasive, it doesn't even occur to them. I know. But it's like, you just can't comment on people's bodies. I know.
The end. I saw my friend who was the only witness at our courthouse wedding and as a photographer for the first time in like a year after the pandemic. And it was just, she had this huge bump. Her belly button was popped. I just didn't say anything until she mentioned it.
You never
just
know.
In case, like, what if, you just never know. And I was like pretty sure. And it turns out she was like a good 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
But you never know if like someone just had a miscarriage, if someone or if that's just how someone's body looks now.
Yeah.
That has happened to friends of mine. They just still look pregnant for forever.
Yeah.
No, guys.
You just don't.
Yeah, sure. I have a bump. That's just my body at 36 after having twins. That's
Right?
the bump.
Yeah. Like, I can only wear super tight high-waisted pants like most of the day. Like the rest of the time, I need to wear stretchy pants, guys.
Stretchy pants, flouncy dresses. That's the way.
But I mean, the question still stands. Like, will there be another one? And the answer is hell if I know.
I thought you were going to say hell no. Hell if I know.
Hell if I know. We lean back and forth all the time. Currently leaning towards probably not. But yeah, I mean.
Do you want to redact that? Is Ned going to kill you?
No, he's not going to kill me.
Okay, good.
He's not going to kill me because he does it too.
Oh, does he?
We look at Finn and how adorable he is. And then we'll look over at Wes being like psychopath. And we're like, babies are cute, right? Like, babies are so cute.
But here's the thing. Babies don't keep.
I know. They don't keep.
They've gone so fast.
They are gone so fast.
I know.
Okay, well, speaking of, there was a question here that was, it was the first one that Rainie sent that we should like think about. Which is, what is your favorite thing to do with each of your children? This one just made my heart warm. I was like, what is my favorite thing to do with my children?
What's your favorite thing to do with your children?
Let's see. It's different for both of them, because it's hard the two of them are so different in ages that it's hard to really have like a really meaningful connection with them together. But one of the ways that we actually do that is the very first thing in the morning. I am a morning person, and even when it's too early for my body and I'm like, why are you awake right now? I'm just so happy to like, Finn will be standing in his crib with his little sleep sack on, and he's like so happy to see me. I come in and I like wake up his room and like pull him out of his crib, and he like uses, he points and he goes, milk. And I'm like, you want some milk, buddy? Yeah, let's go do that. And then, like Finn and I'll go out and we'll have our milk, and I have a little conversation with him. And then Wes kind of comes wandering out, and he's like this sleepy 4-year-old, and he's a little drowsy still. And he's like, hi, mommy. And he loves morning hugs. And so he comes over and he snuggles with us. And sometimes I'm still holding Finn, and sometimes I'll, give Wes like a one arm, or sometimes I'll give him 2. But they're just so snuggly and sweet in the morning. And I just love it. Not every morning, of course. They're children. They're allowed to like have moods. But I don't know. Most mornings I just feel so close to them and just so warm and snuggly.
So sweet.
I know. What about you?
Favorite thing to do with them? I like how Rainie wrote each of them, and they're never separate. Not yet.
That's so funny.
Never.
Oh my goodness.
They're only separate for like Poppy's in speech therapy. So we've been doing like speech evaluations around town to get her into a new program. So I take her for that. But it's like such a big deal to separate them. I really have to prep them. Or if one of them like has a rash and I'm taking them to the pediatrician. But they even go to normal ped appointments together.
Yeah.
They're never separated.
And they love that. I mean, I know that they love that. Like, I remember one time Poppy was like in the house and June's going, where's Poppy?
Yeah.
Where's Poppy? Like they are each other's security blanket.
Yes. In fact, at preschool, their teachers told me that they don't go to the bathroom without going and getting the other one first.
Really?
They're 3-year-old
like,
twins. They've never been alone.
Oh my gosh.
So they get the other one to go potty. Now, next year I will be putting them in separate academic classrooms. So it's a big deal.
Was that a choice?
Yeah, that's a choice. So they'll be together for half the day outside and they'll be separate for half the day inside. And by half the day, I mean 2 hours.
Right.
So we're just going to go
start them slow.
Go slow. I think it's natural with twins, but I want them to have social autonomy and experiences eventually.
Yeah,
but
of course.
My favorite thing to do with them is probably we go out to breakfast in our neighborhood every weekend, both weekend days, at a local little coffee shop, and they're obsessed, and so am I. And we just go up the hill and we sit down together and we chat, and they like both want to sit on me, and we feed each other, and we all know what we're ordering, and like it's just our space. And then usually afterwards they're like, can we not go home? And I'm like, sure, let's go figure out what we're gonna do.
Oh,
but like we have coffee and milk in the mornings and like hang out. That's probably my favorite thing to do with them.
The hanging out is just so wonderful. Mm-hmm. I mean, now that like Wes can fully talk, and Finn can communicate. And so I feel like that's such a lovely time to just talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, like pick their minds and see what they like and what they're thinking about. And
yeah, it's a very funny time to like sit and have conversation with 2 3-year-olds.
Right, exactly. Because the things that they care about are not the things that we care about.
It's true.
Did you know, because of what Watts' career was, that
I would be alone all the time?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. So once again, my husband is working out of town for another 6 months. I did 6 months solo last year, and I'm doing another 6 months now. He has almost always taken a job out of town every year, at least, just because not all the work is in LA. He's worked on some really cool projects like Atlanta, or shot movies abroad. And, you know, I've always been supportive of that. That has always been fine, but I didn't realize it'd be parenting solo so much. And my friends will be like, oh yeah, I was alone all weekend when my husband went on a biking trip. And I'm like, wrong group text, guys, not to me. You don't.
I think that all the time. Whenever I'm alone with the boys for even like 4 hours or something like that, I'm like, how does Rachel fucking do this every single day?
I mean, okay, let's acknowledge this though. I'm a solo parent with a full-time nanny with a husband, at least emotional, psychological, and from afar support. Like I make him book the dog walkers, order the pull-ups, you know, like I'm like, oh, my car has a problem, call the shop and I'll drop it off. Like I make him work for the household for what he can do. And he's on East Coast time, so he can really do a lot of West Coast shit.
Right, of course.
It's great. How do actual single parents do it with no full-time nanny, no like psychological husband support? I just like fully bow down to those people who either choose to or find themselves as single parents.
Yeah.
Especially in the pandemic, for which your village is so small.
Right.
Like when my kids enrolled in preschool, you were my emergency contact for them because they didn't know anyone else in the whole world, Ariel.
I know.
They didn't know anyone else.
I know.
Like if anyone else were to come pick them up, they would be like, yeah, that's a stranger.
Right. Like I was the person who would go.
You were the
and
only
pick them
person
up.
we saw at one point in their lives. Wes was their singular friend.
I mean,
because
we were already his singular friend.
We were already working together through the pandemic, so it was like our only safe pod.
Yeah.
So like, how do parents in the pandemic do it where you can't just rely on like your neighbor, your aunt, your cousin? If you don't have family nearby, So yes, I do like kind of a hard thing that I didn't necessarily sign up for. But how do people do this for their whole lives?
I know.
I don't know. It takes so much self-sacrifice from the moment your eyes open till the moment your kid's eyes closed at the end of the day to either be at work or working for your family.
Yeah.
And then it also just takes like so much endurance and tenacity to like endure that kind of like loneliness when the only people you're hanging out with are kids. Like I was telling the guys on set yesterday that Monday night or whenever I discovered that we had run out of dog food.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, whoops, my other child has no food. Like I fed her dinner from like the crumbs of the kibble. And it turns out just like the subscription of dog food didn't come last month and no one noticed. So I like panic, go to Amazon. I can't get it delivered in a day. I check both of the stores and I have to be on set at 8:15 a.m. the next morning after I drop the girls off at preschool at 8.
There's no way
and the
you could
pet
get
stores in my
food.
neighborhood don't open before 8. So there was no way I could get her any food because my kids were already asleep. This is like 8 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
I'm stuck. I can't leave the kids.
Right.
The dog has no food. So I pulled a fillet of salmon out of the freezer and roasted it for her the next morning and gave it to her for breakfast.
That's what you have to do. That's absolutely what you have to do.
I was like, here's rice and salmon. But like I was stuck. And luckily, you know, we had food in the house that the dog could eat.
Right.
But I was just stuck.
I get it.
I didn't know what to do.
I know.
So I just imagine truly single parents, not people parenting solo for 6 months or a year at a time or whatever, get stuck all the time being like, the baby's asleep, but I need that prescription, but it doesn't open, but I have to go to work, but my boss doesn't understand.
Yeah.
I considered turning the monitor on my phone and like driving up to the Rite Aid. And I was like, no, I can't do that. What if, very real possibility, what if there's an earthquake while I did that? I would never forgive myself. I would rather Clementine be hungry. You know, she's gotten a little chunky in the pandemic. Anyways, we worked it out. But
all that salmon and rice, Rachel.
one time. No, it's the fact that I no longer take her on fun trips to exercise and stuff.
I know.
You know what? I also got chunky in the pandemic a little bit.
It's because you're not taking yourself on fun trips.
I'm not taking myself on fun trips anymore. How did you decide on the boys' names?
Oh, that was tough for us because we were all over the place with names. So there was, I feel like the way that I make decisions is I stress out and I look at the whole pool of options, right? And it's too much. Every single time I have to make a big decision, it's too much. And so I have to create boundaries for myself in order to like categorize the decision.
Yeah.
And so we knew that the boys were going to have Ned's last name. And
do you still stand by that? Because since that, did you see in Italy that infants now can take mother or father's last name?
I did see that.
And I have a good friend from college who gave her daughter her last name instead of her husband's.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I regret everything. Why did I sign off on my husband's last name? They could have been Cole.
I know. Cole's such a good last name.
I know.
I still stand by it.
You changed yours too.
Yeah, I changed mine too. And yeah, so it just, I feel like it just logistically, it's simpler sometimes. But that's a whole nother conversation.
I know.
And so we knew that they were going to be Fulmer. And I kind of realized after meeting a lot of Ned's family that I really liked the way that the name sounded when they had a one syllable first name and then Fulmer. So Ned Fulmer, Jim Fulmer, Reese Fulmer. You know, I don't know. There was just something about that. And so
Ariel. Oh,
exactly.
no.
Yeah. No, mine's like blah, blah, blah. And so I made that like one of the things. I was like, well, they need to be able to have a nickname that could be one syllable. And then we found this amazing book called The Child Name Wizard or something like that. It was a great book that
I did not have this book.
It kind of broke names down into like what sort of feelings they give you and like where they kind of come from. And so, you know, one of the categories was like surfer names. So there would be like Wyatt and
Kai.
Kai. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we also, and then it had like a side note that said, go to like California surfer names and it's Wes, and I was just like, I mean, my kid is definitely going to be like a California surfer at heart.
I mean, he is the most like bleach blonde,
exactly,
beach baby.
Yeah. And I always imagine like, I always, when I think about my kids' names, I imagine them in high school. And I imagine people talking about them, like gossiping about them, like, I don't know. Is that weird? Is that weird? But I imagine girls being like, oh my God, Wes Fulmer.
Our boys.
Our
boys.
are like, oh my God.
Did you see Wes Fulmer?
Oh my God. Did you see Wes?
Is he wearing basketball shorts again?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you know that Finn's brother is Wes? Like, I don't know, for some reason.
The one with the ear piercing?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you believe? Yeah, exactly. I just imagine.
Does he have his driver's license yet? No, not yet. Just a permit.
But his mom's super cool.
Yeah. But his mom, she's so pretty.
I just imagine these like,
that's funny,
older kids and people
gossiping.
But like them being happy with their names, because of, I don't know. So,
were you always happy with your name?
I was always happy with my name.
Miles?
Oh yeah, I always had that. No one had my name.
Yeah, Miles is not very common.
I did
unique.
And Bonsignore really
You were going to name
seals the deal.
You name your child Miles?
We did think about it, but we knew Miles at the time, so we couldn't. We couldn't.
You know
I
one
would've
of
been
one of my names. It's not Miles.
What's
but
that?
It's Milo.
Oh,
That's a name I like.
I love
for
Milo.
a girl.
Milo is good.
Milo for a girl.
Yeah. Otis.
How did you pick
Yes.
Finn? Finn was one of my boy names.
isn't that funny?
It's okay. I'll never have boys.
Okay, so one thing that I learned from this book was I read like the introduction, which was a pretty sizable introduction. It wasn't just like welcome to this book. It talked all about how names come in and out of fashion and how they kind of like there are certain names that are just in the like the psyche of society at a certain time, and it comes from the way we were raised. And
Rachel in the 80s.
right, exactly.
Give me a break.
Ashley, Catherine, like all of these different ones. And right now Finn is one of those. Like
Definitely.
Finn goes to gymnastics, and there's 2 other Finns in his class. One of them is a Findlay, and the other one is a Finnegan.
Yep.
And they're all Finns.
So many Finns.
Yeah.
I love Finn.
I love it too. And he's such a Finn. He's such
I
a
never
sweetie.
minded I minded being one of like 5 Rachels in every class.
Yeah.
That is annoying. But I never minded it sounding like I was a mid-80s kid.
Yeah.
Like, or mid-80s baby, really, infant. Because I was. Like, I don't mind it being a sign of the times, which Finn may be. It's so popular.
You know what really cemented Finn for me? Do you know what the name of the goldfish on the goldfish package is?
Oh, it's Finn.
It's Finn.
And you love goldfish.
I know. It was my pregnancy food.
You influenced me so hard with goldfish that I brought goldfish that I wouldn't let Watson touch to the hospital to have after birth.
The best.
Yeah, I mean, I do love them. I loved them before.
Yeah.
But it really solidified that decision for me. I was like, Ariel had these. I need them.
Yeah. I was looking at like a Costco-sized box of goldfish. And, I don't know why I was sitting at the table eating goldfish looking at the Costco-sized box. But I was like, oh, Finn.
Finn. That's
Finn.
a good name.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But yeah, Ned and I decided on Wes. It took a long time to decide on Wes. And we liked it. It was between Wes and, Ned. We also thought maybe one of those like very East Coasty names like Kip or something like that would be good.
Kip.
I stand by that. But I am glad that we went with Wes.
Did you ever? Okay, here's a good question. After each boy was born, each baby was born, did you ever question whether or not you had given them the right name?
No.
It felt right.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
It took us a couple days to name Wes, but once we named him, it felt right. And I'm not one to regret things that I can't change. You know,
You could.
I know, but once I
Until
make a
he knows
decision,
it.
I'm like,
You're
it's a
all
waste. It's a waste of my mental energy to regret something. You know, I think I've talked about that before. But
Yeah, I
tell
get
us
that from
about
you.
Poppy and June.
Poppy in June. Well, obviously, I'd wanted kids for a long time, really hard to get pregnant. So coming into pregnancy, I had a boy name and a girl name that were very solidified for me. And one
What
of them,
were they? Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Or are they?
Oliver and Juniper.
Oliver was mine too.
Yeah. It became too popular by now. Like if I were to get pregnant with a boy right this second, not that we're trying to have a baby, don't extrapolate that. But I would no longer use Oliver because it's like a Finn. And I have friends with kids named Oliver now.
Yeah.
But I really like the nickname Ollie. And I know this is going to sound so dumb, but in New York, I had like a favorite barista at my coffee shop named Ollie. And, you know, I got a lot of good cappuccinos from Ollie. I found him delightful.
Would it be an Olli or an OllY?
Or Oli?
Or
I don't
OLI.
know. As like short for
Ollie?
Oliver. Ollie? Olli maybe?
I like
Because that's
that.
how you spell Oliver.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
And then Juniper was one. And Juniper, I had picked, you know, I had baby names in high school. I had them in college.
You've been thinking
I've
about
had
this
it
your
for a long
whole
time.
life.
And I wish I could remember what those were, but because I'm sure they were terrible. I
No.
bet they were like Chloe, Julia, you know.
I still like Chloe, and I'm pretty sure that Allison was one of mine.
Yeah, Alice was always one of mine. Chloe, I got over when I taught school in the like 2009, 2010, because it was very popular. I had a
Really?
lot of Chloe's. But when I moved to California with juniper plants, Juniper became one of my leading baby names. So then when I found out we were having 2 girls, I was like, oh shit, what am I going to
Another
do?
one.
And I knew I wanted a California plant.
Wow,
That's what I knew.
that's so funny. You were like, it just works.
I knew I kind
has
of
to
wanted,
fit.
like, I mean, you could take that pretty expansively, but I wanted something indicative of the time and place where they were born.
Could have been Jacaranda.
Yeah,
imagine?
of course.
Call her Jackie.
Jackie. No, I really can't look at an infant and call her Jackie. It's not in the cards, Ariel.
Jacaranda.
Another close call that I almost dare not say, maybe we'll redact it just for fun, was Fern.
I
really
like Fern.
Also Charlotte's Web.
Don't redact that. I love Fern.
Redact it so I can use it for my 3rd child and no one
fair.
will have stolen it.
Fair enough.
No, I guess I don't know our listeners personally. Steal away. Leave it out there. Fern. That was a close
backwards.
third.
Nerf.
Nerf? Why would you do it backwards?
It would be Nerf.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was just
But my sister-in-law sent me a list of her baby names that I was allowed to use. Hold on. And Penelope with nickname Poppy was on there. And when I saw it, I burst into tears. I was like, oh, that's my name. By the way, dear listeners, she has now had another baby since then. And I sent her a list of my baby names to use and she took one. So we have traded baby names.
Wow.
So my new niece is one of my female baby names.
that is so funny.
Yeah.
I love that you guys shared baby names. Like
She only
you can
sent a
use
list
this.
that I was free to take. Like she didn't send a list of like, and then when she was like, I don't know, for her second, I was like, here's my list. And I did not put Fern on there because I still wanted
You're
it.
like, that's fine.
That's mine. We're not having a 3rd baby. I'm not naming them Oliver or Fern. So once I saw Poppy and then I had Juniper and then we gave them family names as middle names, it really solidified for me that that's what it was. And I said, Ariel Fulmer, I said, I'm going to birth them, I'm going to hold them, and then I'm going to name them.
Uh-huh.
I didn't do that. I named them in utero.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I named them in utero. I
You
started
knew.
talking to them.
You knew which one.
And yeah. Baby A and baby B. I named them.
And did you always know that A was going to be June and she was going to come out first?
I knew that I'd named baby A June and I knew that baby A would come first. That's how they named baby A. And by the time I did that, by the time we picked Poppy, they were not flip-flopping. They were pretty big. It was like relatively late in pregnancy. So
You
they
knew.
were where they were.
You knew June
So,
was
yeah.
going to come first and then Poppy.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So you know?
That's
I named him
hilarious.
in utero. So funny. Would you say the transition between 0 to 1 kids or 1 to 2 kids was harder?
Depends on what you consider hard.
What do you consider hard?
When I think of things that are very difficult for me, it's something that I am not prepared for. I was prepared for the first kid. I had prepared myself. I had years to prepare myself to like know that it was going to be hard and to like, I don't know, prepare myself like physically to take care of a child and like time wise and all that kind of stuff. I knew what it was going to take. I knew I wasn't going to get any sleep. Going from 1 to 2, I thought I had it in the bag. And then it just, I was blindsided, fully blindsided. Wes was a great sleeper. Finn was not a great sleeper, you know, in like the first year of his life. And that threw me for a loop. Kids are different.
Kids are different. And I think parenting one is, what kind of parent are you when you've had a lot of non-parent, single adult, not single. So parenting one is like, who are you as a parent when you've had tons of time to prepare but no experience? When you're book smart on parenting, you're coming into it like with all the free time in the world.
Yeah.
You might not think that, but that's true.
Yeah.
And then parenting your second is, who are you as a parent when you have no energy or time left to give?
Exactly.
Who are you as a parent when your life is already at 100%?
Yeah.
And you just add another 100% and hope for the best.
Exactly. And
it's really hard.
Just like hope that they're all getting what they need.
Yeah, you don't have the time to like just dedicate to preparing yourself, your home, your life.
No, because you're taking care of a kid.
But you know what you have on your side? Experience.
Exactly. But, you know, and there were some things where the experience was I'm so glad that I had it. But there were in some ways he was very different.
Yeah, of course.
And so, you know, the experience, I was like, well, now my experience is working against me because I thought this was going to be easier, or I thought I was going to do it like this. Turns out, no.
Every kid is their own kid. And I've been raising 2 kids in an almost identical environment. They've literally never left each other's side.
They're wildly different.
At the identical time. And yes, there is probably some difference in my response to each of them based on personality, but like very nuanced stuff here, right? And they develop differently. They have different needs. They have different relationships with me, with each other, with our home, with preschool, with their nanny. Like there's only so much that you are imparting on them, and there's just so much they bring to the table, and that's just who they are. I have one who has always been the most excellent sleeper I've ever met in my entire life, and the other one needs me relatively frequently at night. We sleep trained both. Very lightly. I did baby-led weaning for both, the whole shebang. And one at 3 is super picky, and the other one would literally try anything you gave her and probably love it. Like, you can only do so much.
Right.
They are in control of so much.
It's like you have given them the same food.
Yeah.
Every day of their lives.
Someone said this to me last night, the other day. She was like, yeah, when I became a mom, I really considered my husband's or my like parenting partner's opinion. I considered my opinion, and I weighed out the best choice. And I fucking forgot about the baby's opinion. And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right. You and your partner can come to all the agreements you want on how to parent, but the baby is going to have an opinion on what they want.
Decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, like just like you and Ned, you probably were like, yeah, I'll breastfeed. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And your boys were like, the fuck you will.
Yeah.
I would prefer a bottle, please.
We're too small, Mom.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure it out.
But even more so as they get bigger, I'm like, oh, I want to do this and this. And it's like, okay, you don't want to? Okay, never mind. I guess we won't.
Yeah, exactly. What other hard questions do we have in here?
The hard question I was going to ask is, can you describe what the love for your kids physically feels like? I feel like that's really hard.
It is very hard, but absolutely, it's a physical feeling.
Yeah. What does love for your kids feel like, Ariel? Everybody brace yourselves for poetry.
Poetry from me, really? Yeah. Well, let's see. Have you ever gotten into a hot tub?
Yes, I have.
And
with you and our children recently.
Yes, well, when you get a hug from a toddler, my body turns into molten, like
hot tub
glob. Yeah. It is the sweetest, most just wonderful and pure thing that you could ever get, are toddler hugs. And I try to get them as much as I can. And I never take them. I've learned that like you can't just be like, give me a hug, or here's a hug. It's, can I give you a hug? Or do you want a hug?
Yeah.
You know? And then usually they're like, or they just come in for the hug. Like Finn just goes in.
For those of you who are not up on current parenting practices, that is informed consent from an early age. You don't just do things to kids. If you have to do something to them or for them, like pick them up when they're screaming to get them out of the way, or put them in a car seat when they won't get in, because, you know, you tell them you're going to do that and you're going to do that.
I understand that you don't want this, but I have to do this to keep you safe.
But otherwise, you ask them. We actually, the girls started this language, I feel like, but we say, do you have a hug to give? Do you have a kiss to give?
Oh.
And June will be like, or Poppy will be like, I have one. I have a kiss too. Do you have one to give? Precious. Okay, I'll take them.
It's so precious.
Do you have two to give? I've never asked them that, but yeah, I'll take two.
But I'd say that feeling of like warmth and sort of, you know, the feeling that you get when you like relax. It just feels warm and like, I don't know, like all of the muscles in your body are just getting what they need. Yeah. You know, I feel like when I say goodnight to Wes, we do this thing where he says like, I love you all the way to Earth, because he didn't realize that we were on Earth. And so when there was one morning where I explained to him where we like drew out all the planets, and I was like, okay, so Earth is technically the closest planet to us.
So you love me.
So you love me to Earth.
To here.
And he was like, well, which one is the farthest one away? And I was like, well, it looks like that's Neptune or Jupiter.
It's Pluto, but Pluto
doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it exists, but it's not a planet.
It's not a planet anymore.
I think it's Jupiter.
Okay.
And so now he says, I love you all the way to Jupiter. And it just melts my heart. And then sometimes and then a smart kid, he started saying, I love you all the way to Jupiter, and then to the sun, and then back to Earth. I'm just like, what? Where do you get this stuff? Ugh.
That's so cute.
It's just like their feelings, like there's a kind of a double-edged sword with toddler feelings, right? On the one hand, they say everything that they're feeling, and they have a lot of feelings, and those can be, you know, wild feelings when you're out in public, and they don't
know how to process them, so they're very big and uncontained.
Right. But when those big and uncontained feelings are love towards you,
and joy towards you,
I know, just melt.
It's very pure.
It is very pure. What does it feel like to you?
Love for my kids.
Yeah, or just the feeling.
Okay. Here's what I think it's like. Very different. Though I agree with everything you said. I think having children is like creating Horcruxes. I have split my soul into 3, and only when I am with them, physically in the room, holding them to my body, am I within my full being. And without them, parts of me exist out in the world, and I am not my full being. I am constantly being torn and split apart because I have taken pieces of myself that I'll never get back unless I'm with them.
Yeah. It's like you're always thinking about them, no matter where you are.
From this moment that they were born onward, from when they stopped being a part of my like actual body, although they left their DNA in me. So like they're still
a part of you.
I have never done anything again at 110%. I haven't worked or been with friends or been in like on a trip or traveled or been a part of the world or anything at 100% because I have split off parts of myself that I cannot get back unless we are together.
And I feel like I have to save energy for them. You know, like
that's interesting.
Ned and I talk about this a lot where like he can go 100% on like the soccer field or something like that. Whereas I always have 15% left in the tank because I know that I'm going to need it at some point.
Like for the kids.
For the kids. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. I never again in my life will I be out about on my own and operating at 100% myself because I gave up part of myself. You know, like I used to dedicate everything to a work project or a, you know, travel or friend groups or whatever, but just, you know.
Yeah. That makes me think about what it's going to be like when our kids are grown.
I know. And what have we maintained of ourselves since then? I do think every day that they exist, they are more a part of the world and less a part of me. And that is how it is.
How does that make you feel? Like, do you feel like you've just lost that part of you that doesn't have them connected to you? Or do you feel like you're getting it back?
I mean, in some ways, as they grow up, I return to myself somewhat. But yeah, there was definitely like a gift I gave that won't ever totally come back, nor would I want it to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's thriving in some other direction now. You know, parenting is like a lot of tiny, tiny deaths for like the baby that was and tiny, tiny births for like the kid and then the teen and then the adult they will be. And you do things for the last time with your kids and you don't even realize it. Like it just occurred to me last night.
Just make me cry.
I know. I could cry talking about it. I'm really trying not to. But last night I realized that I haven't bathed them in the sink in a long time and I never will again. They're too big.
Oh.
But I didn't know the last time I put them in the sink together would be the last time.
Oh gosh.
I know.
Yeah. You know, anytime that Wes asks me to play, you know, he's like, "Mommy, play with me. Come play Legos with me. Come play outside with me." And I'm doing something, you know, because there are so many times when I'm like, I really want to, buddy, but I need to finish making breakfast for your brother or something like that.
Yeah.
And I saw this Instagram post at one point that was like some dad, you know, said like, there will come a point when your kids stop asking you.
Uh-huh.
And
you were like,
I crumbled.
Yeah.
You know, like
parents are saps.
They really are. They really, really are. Like Wes has started doing the I'm afraid of the dark thing.
Uh-huh.
And I swear to God, I will just lay there with that child
forever till he falls asleep.
I'm just like, you know, I like validate his feelings and I'm saying like, it's okay to be scared, you know, but like, you're so safe for this reason and this reason and this reason. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, like, that's not fully true. Like, you know, safe, like, you know, it's like,
but there's no reason for him to carry the like burdens of adulthood.
No, this is a burden that like, this is something that I will carry for you because I am your parent. But he's like, well, what if they have a wrecking ball and they, you know, because I'm like, well, the door is locked. Nobody can get into our house.
Did you let him listen to Miley Cyrus?
I did not.
And then
he's just into trucks.
Oh, okay. Know? Okay. A different wrecking ball. All right.
And so, you know, I'm having to come up with the most creative ways to tell him that a wrecking ball cannot hurt our house. It's made of concrete. I hope you know that. And you know, wrecking ball.
That's so funny that wrecking ball is his number one concern.
I know.
Do you remember being a kid and being like worried about quicksand?
Oh yeah, that's totally
never
a fear
come
of mine.
Up in adulthood.
Never,
not once.
Never.
I'm gonna ask you a last question.
Okay.
Were there times when you felt like you lost your identity to motherhood, and how did you find yourself again if that had happened?
Ooh. Yes, for sure. I think that the early days of having a baby are so immersive because they're 24 hours. It is 24 hours a day that you are taking care of an infant who can't feed themselves, who can't move, they can't, you know, like it. And I feel like the hormones of like your body after labor too make it so just necessary that you are taking care of, like you are taking care of its child now that can't take care of itself. And it can be completely just all encompassing. And I remember that being a very nice experience the first time. Just totally giving in, learning how to take care of an infant.
Yeah, it's nice to like lean into this like very human experience and to expect nothing more of yourself than to do this one thing for a while.
It's to have the privilege to take the time to do that was wonderful. And I did. I totally just gave into it. And then I feel like you slowly start to get it back. You know,
by it you mean yourself.
You mean I mean myself. And for sure I like lost that. You know, like there are these stereotypes of new moms where they're completely sleep deprived, covered in milk, they haven't bathed. Like, that's every new mom.
That's all of us.
That's every new mom. You just give in.
Yeah.
You just give it all to your kid for the first however long it takes. And then you start to emerge from this chrysalis, you know, you're like, I am a mom now. And you know, you choose that if that makes you stronger, you choose if it makes you, you know, like how it makes you better. Which I always found that process very, very interesting. Do you have times when you gave up to just
motherhood,
being a mom?
A lot of the time. But I think returning to work helped me return to myself a little bit for me. But yeah, those early days were very much just like, I have nothing more than to keep myself and these two other people alive. That's my job. We're all gonna stay alive. And that was about as high as the bar was set.
That's the highest bar you need right then. I think for you, it was work. For me, it was starting to go out with friends by myself without kids. You know what? And we're done almost here, but like the pandemic really set me back into like that like early parenthood thing. Cause suddenly I had no more outside the home interactions, just over Zoom, computers, whatever. And it was a struggle. It was 100% baby time all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it was great to be with them so much, but I felt very just kind of confused into what I was doing. I was like, I'm home with my kids all the time. I'm trying to work. I'm failing at both.
I'm trying to be a great parent and entertain them and like allow them to grow.
Failing across the board. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's parenthood. We have 100 more questions. If Maggie, Becky, and Matt decide not to come back, we'll be back. So thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, this was fun. But yes, we do have a lot more questions. I feel like we didn't get to hardly any of them.
Yeah, we'll be back.
But that's okay. Rachel and I can go off.
Next time we'll just play a baby name game and drink wine.
Let's do that. Miles, we should do that. Let's do that with Maggie and Becky and
Matthew. Okay.
Matthew. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Remember to get vaccinated, get boosted, wash your hands, pee after sex, be nice to your servers, make sure you tip them.
Tip your queens.
Yes. Happy Pride. We love you all so much and appreciate your questions and your comments. Email us at youcansitwithuspod@gmail.com.
Comment below your favorite baby names that you're willing to share.
Oh, make sure that they're ones you're willing to share, because if they're not, somebody's going to take it and you are going to be very mad.
Yeah.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.